Why is estimating software so challenging to developers? Let's talk about it in today's video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, drop a like if you get value out of this video, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment section below. Now, I do expect to ruffle some feathers here, so if you do want to carry this conversation forward in the comment section, let me know the good, the bad, the ugly. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to continue this conversation and hopefully do future videos on this subject matter because this is a very important subject matter. If you're a new Scrum Master, you might not appreciate why estimating is so hard. And if you're a seasoned Scrum Master, you may still not appreciate why estimating is so hard, or you might not have some empathy for your developers. In either case, I want to share with you my perspectives. I've been doing Agile for many, many years, and every team has always been different. But one thing that is very, very common across all the teams that I've ever worked with is that estimating software is nearly impossible to do. Now, you may ask yourself, why? Why is it such an impossible thing to do when the Scrum book and the Agile Manifesto make this all look so easy? Estimate your software, give us a number, and you're on with your day. But estimating is challenging. The reason software estimation is challenging is because most people treat software development like any other type of engineering. When you are looking at different disciplines within the world of engineering, or even any discipline in corporate America today, it is very easy, in my opinion, to estimate how much effort is required to create a PowerPoint or do an Excel file or do pretty much anything else from an engineering perspective, right? Build a bridge or do some mathematics for this or mathematical calculation for that. It's not trivial because obviously you have to have the skill set to do it. If you do have the skills to do this work, then the output, you can predict more reasonably the estimate, the level of effort required to make that item come to fruition. But on the software side, you gotta treat software development not like another type of engineering, but more like an art, more like something that is completely subjective and that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. An example that I love to give is you wouldn't go to Da Vinci and ask him, hey, how long is it going to take you to create the Mona Lisa? You just never know, because with art, it is all about that creative expression and what you're doing and how you craft and how you bring something out of nothing. And I think a lot of people miss this. A lot of people will think or like to think that software development is just another thing that is full of knowns. But oftentimes, the situations that we're creating something out of nothing. It allows us to have these scenarios where we just simply don't know, because not many of us on the team have been down this path before. It's so easy to look back and reflect and be able to grab estimates from work that you've done in the past, because connecting the dots is way easier when you're looking backwards. But when you're looking forward, you don't always know how far apart those dots are or what that journey is going to be like. There's so much ambiguity to the development of software that it makes estimating hard. Now, I don't want to put excuses for why developers give you lousy estimates, but what I do want to challenge, what I do want you to kind of think about is, are you approaching the creation of your stories correctly? Because I am of the belief that no story should be more than a day or two worth of work. But the problem I most often see is that these stories that are being created, they're so massive that there's so much ambiguity, so many dependencies, so much just unknowns that the developers will just not know really what's being asked. Because English is a hard language, and when you just give a story and there's no context, there's no wire diagrams, there's no requirements, there's no acceptance criteria, there is no clear expectation of what needs to be built, and or the ask is so massive, how can you expect anybody who has never done whatever it is you're asking to estimate accurately or with any confidence a story? It becomes really challenging. And so my tip to you is, if you are struggling with estimating your software, I recommend you and your product owner or whoever's creating these stories take a really deep analysis into how you're creating your user stories. Because these stories should be small, the smallest unit you could possibly create. Because the more clear, the more succinct, the more just compressed that story is, even though you're going to have a lot more, the requirements that you give, the clear requirements and the clear acceptance criteria and the clarity of minimal dependencies, minimal ambiguity, minimal just confusion, and maximize communication, then when that developer gets that story, they're going to go, oh, this is easy. And then they're going to be able to give you warm, fuzzy feeling estimates that are going to be a lot more accurate and a lot easier to do. But if you are struggling right now, I challenge you to go look at the quality of your stories. Because I don't think that the problem's with the developers. Even though software development is very hard, but these are highly paid, highly trained, highly skilled engineers. Just consider that what they're building is complex. So you have to help out with your part because you're feeding in those requirements. You're feeding in what they need to build. And so when you're crafting that text, when you're designing and articulating that information inside of a story, think about the complexity and the burden you're putting on the developers because they now have to go figure out and make so many assumptions. And this is really where things start coming and bite you in the butt because anytime a developer has external dependencies, assumptions, ambiguities, unknowns, unclear about something, they're going to do what they're trained to do, and that is to come up with a solution. And that solution might run them down this rabbit hole that exponentially blows up the complexity of that story when it was just because your comma was in the wrong place, which completely changes the meaning of a story. So I hope this video was a little bit clear. I know I ranted a little bit there, but the point is to just summarize two things. One, if your estimates from your software developers are really just all over the place, take a look at how you're writing your stories because it starts there. That is the first initial step, step 0, if you will. And second, don't treat software development like another form of known engineering. Treat it more as an art and be more empathetic for the fact that you're creating something out of nothing that probably hasn't been built before. And so there's a lot of learning, a lot of discovery, a lot of trial and error that goes into creating something out of nothing, which a lot of people just typically don't appreciate. So as long as you go down with those two levels of understanding, I think your estimations are going to get significantly better. That's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. I'm really curious because, again, I've been doing this for 10 years. These are based on my observations, but I know every single team is a little bit different. So I'd love to hear your stories. Do you have this problem? Do you not have this problem? Did you have this problem in the past and then you fixed it? I'd love to know how you dealt with it. And that's it for this. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you share this video. Please make sure you share this video with people you know that have had this experience in the past and maybe they have a pretty good solution to it. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.
Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need